Hi, I'm Greg Dell with Dell Disability Lawyers, here with attorney Stephen Jessup, and we have the pleasure of speaking about a recent success story of Stephen regarding an application for an anesthesiologist. So, Stephen, let's talk about what was involved in this claim, what you had to do, and how you were able to be successful to get this anesthesiologist's benefits paid.
You know, Greg, this is one of those ones especially where a potential client comes to you and he's like, listen, I'm thinking about filing for disability, and he's ready to pull the trigger as to, this is going to be my last day, I'm going to file it for that. That's my date of disability. And then with some further digging about the medical history, what's leading him to go out on disability, all these things, I realized that it was a situation where we could not take a look at the date when he's going to formally stop working, but go all the way back to the date of the initial injury and surgery to establish a date of disability. Almost a year prior. So that was one of the situations that I always find in any application, especially for doctors, and you have multiple policies and stuff, and determining how the language is going to work, how to maximize possibly payments of benefits under that policy.
Right, so I want to back up a second. When this anesthesiologist first called you, was he still working?
He was still working.
Okay.
He was still working.
So a lot of doctors or anyone considering filings watching this video and thinking, oh, I can get the lawyer involved before I stop working, and we always say, yeah, that's the best thing, because but for getting hit by a bus or having some horrific accident, the reality is that the claimant's been working for a while or a certain period of time with the condition, trying to deal with it, trying to work through it, and now they're starting to think, hey, I have this disability policy, what can I do with it?
Yeah, and it's interesting you say with an accident, because that's how it started. He was at home, and it was really, as he describes it, a freak accident, a full rupture of his left quadricep from the bone. I mean, very, very serious injury. He had surgery to repair it, was out of work for, just under 3 months, wanted to go back to work, attempted to go back to work initially, like on half-time. The pain was too much swelling, too much discomfort within the first week, so he went back out, waited a couple more weeks, and then it was, so the injury was in November. Then in late February, he returned to work, but on a half-time schedule. So he's only working half of what he was supposed to for his group. And his mindset was, it's getting worse, it's harder. He then had a injury at work. There's no workers' compensation coverage for this, but he re-aggravated, re-tore the quadricep, and he's trying to avoid to have a second surgery because the surgeons are like, listen, the likelihood of a full success is going to be very limited in it. So that was June of this year, and that's when he really started thinking, well, maybe the writing's on the wall here. I can't keep up at this pace. I'm trying. I'm worried that if I have to rush to a room or something like that, to administer, I might not be able to make it because of my leg. There was a lot of concerns that he had there. So it was a situation where he's like, well, I'm thinking about filing right now, and this is my date of disability. And it was only going back and looking through all the medical and seeing, and even the loss of income when he returned, to part-time work, where you could set up a residual disability benefit with some of his carriers, and then under an employer group provided policy, frame it as he satisfied the elimination period, and then there was return to work incentive. So those earnings he had didn't even factor as a partial disability.
So when he called you and said, this is my date of disability, meaning he was telling you this is when I'm going to stop?
That he was basically when he was thinking he was going to, be stopping.
Okay, and you told him, well, you may think that's your date of disability, but I think we might be able to backdate this date of disability, which, talk about the advantages of getting the date of disability back in time.
Yeah, so the biggest thing there is avoiding your elimination period. So we were able to backdate, instead of having it as of a August 31st date, we were able to get it all the way back to November 15th of 2020. So his 90-day elimination period ran by February 14th of this year. So that means from February, all the time he was working, he was not only approved by his carriers, he's paid the back benefits owed, but if he would have just filed on his own and said, this is my date of disability, he's waiting 3 months before he can see a check. Right. So we were able to push back that. He doesn't have to worry about satisfying the elimination period now that he's completely out, but we have the benefit of all the past due benefits owed under the policies.
Right, so essentially you were able to secure him an additional 9 months of benefits. And which disability companies were you dealing with in this claim?
For his private disability carriers, his individual, he has Northwestern Mutual and Mass Mutual, and then through his group, an employer-provided policy through Sun Life.
All right, talk a little bit about the inherent challenges of dealing with multiple carriers at the same time, which is something that is very common when representing doctors. So what are the issues that come up with that?
You know, there's the pros and cons. There's the pros of the fact it's all the same information, but when presenting the information to, say, Northwestern Mutual, the way their policy works, I also have to be sure that I'm presenting the information that's also going to be most beneficial to, say, that Sun Life policy and the Mass Mutual policy, because there's going to be slight nuances. Similar language about the inability to perform your own duties, but there's still nuances of how benefits are going to be paid. For instance, Northwestern Mutual has partial disability. So work earnings that he had for those months, they're going to reduce his benefit. Whereas Sun Life, I was able to work it under the return to work incentive. So he returned, and since his disability earnings, his benefit, and his work earnings didn't exceed his pre-disability earnings, they paid his full disability benefit for those months. So it was a matter of how you present the information that you cover your bases for all three carriers.
And I like to describe it when potentials call and they say, you know, I'm telling them about the application process. I say, you have multiple carriers. Think of this as a board game. You got Monopoly, Sorry, and Clue. They all have different rules. But we want to win all of them. But literally, I have to treat each one differently and then try to merge your medical support together at the end of the day to make it all work. And some of the things that I do when I have multiple carriers that I'm, you know, representing the client is I'll try to consolidate the attending physician statement so that we can get one voice going, so that I don't have to do Mass Mutual, Northwestern, Sun Life, and send 3 different attending physician statements. That's super annoying for the doctor. He doesn't want to fill out the same thing 3 times. Someone who's unrepresented, it's hard to know, can you do that, can you not do that? Claimant statements. Some of the carriers will say, hey, you did Mass Mutual, you don't have to fill it out for Northwestern and the other one. So we try to consolidate a lot of the work so that we keep everything consistent. The other thing that comes up a lot is that then these disability carriers want to start talking to each other. And what are your views on the collaboration among the multiple disability carriers?
You know, I'm hesitant. I take that case by case. If I have one carrier that's kind of holding out and making a decision, I push the fact that the other carriers have already approved, you know, the language is substantial, the same information, same facts, and draw the similarities. However, if there's a situation where and not with this client, but in other clients where there's pushback from both carriers, I avoid, I won't authorize, I won't allow the authorization for them to speak to each other. And I've even seen sometimes, you know, unrelated to this scenario, in claim files where, you know, there may have been a denial of benefits on one and you get that claim file, so you do some type of appeal, and you see that they had reached out to another insurance carrier that the person had, and that insurance carrier is like, we're not saying anything about our insured. We don't have authorization to speak with you. So if you don't grant the authorization for them to communicate with your other insurance companies, they won't be able to. So it's really a case-by-case analysis. In this situation, I wasn't as concerned. We had an injury. Once the timeline was set up, it was pretty it was clear, it was forceful, and I wanted to leverage the other carriers to show, hey, they've approved. So what, you know, what's your deal?
And then on an ongoing basis, once the claim's approved, what will you continue to do for this particular claimant?
You know, the claim forms, you know, each of the carriers do. You know, I can tell you Mass Mutual approved. You know, they were the first to approve, and they're already requesting updates, you know, medically from the doctor and claim forms. You know, the continued requests for any outstanding information. You know, whether it be they want updated financials, you know, as he was one of the partners within this practice, there is going to be some things leading in towards the end of the year with regards to payouts and things like that that the carriers are looking at. And, you know, it's really just a matter of keeping them up to date, making sure with the medicals. You know, I have to think because he had surgery once for a repair, was able to return to work. They're all hopeful that that may be the case. But his doctors aren't necessarily suggesting it, given, you know, the difficulty in repeating the surgery, his age, and it affects him in limited capacities, right? It's not like activities of daily living are really horribly being impacted. Certain situations they are. So it's going to be one of those things, I think, with them, just kind of keeping them at bay, that medically there's been no level of improvement that's going to see him be able to safely return to, you know, being an anesthesiologist in a, you know, working across 2 different hospitals, you know, in cross town, all that type of stuff. So it's going to be mainly now managing what the medicals are and the claim information going back and forth.
Was there any concern when he first contacted you about the fact that he had been working in a reduced capacity and showed an ability to do that, and now he reached a point where he's like, I can't do it anymore?
Yes, there was, and it's interesting because the first time I spoke to him, we were discussing that. I said, well, this is where it could be problematic. We'll have to set it up as to why it's getting worse and you can't go back. And then, he called me maybe a month or two later after he re-aggravated and retore it, not fully, but partially while at work. And he's like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And he still continued to try to hold on. I mean, he's been in the practice. His practice is one of the largest ones in his respective state. And he's been involved with it for, 30 some odd years. So it wasn't easy for him to give it up.
Right. I prefer people to work on a residual basis first. And my response always to the carrier is to say, look, this doctor, this claimant didn't go cold turkey and just say, I can't do it. They tried to battle through it. But when you're a doctor and you're treating patients, the number one oath of a doctor is to do all good for the patient. And when you reach the point and you say, I can't safely administer medical care, forget about the way I feel, but I myself become a danger to the patient, there's no way that doctor can do it. It's not, you're either all in or you're not. Not going to do it halfway and then God forbid I have an issue during a procedure or I'm not of the right frame of mind because I'm having too much pain. It's too much of a danger to patients. They're not going to play around with a patient's life because me as a doctor, I want to continue to try to work. And that's the issue that always happens. And it's scary when the disability companies say, no, we think you can go back and still do it. And they're like, well, why don't you go back and treat the patient because I'm telling you I can't. So that's the issue that we always deal with the doctors. So congratulations on this one. And I know that you'll continue to battle for the doctor to protect his benefits moving forward. If you're someone out there, anesthesiologist, any type of doctor, or any claimant, feel free to reach out to Stephen or myself. We'll always provide you with a free initial consultation. We're happy to discuss a strategy for your application and let you know immediately how we can help you. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process, and when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, plus we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.